All right, today, guys, I'm going to be doing kind of like a repeat video of something I've done before. I'm going to link up in the top how I've done repairing a broken inside door handle when you have power windows and power locks. This particular vehicle, though, is manual windows and manual locks. It's a little bit different. I had a few people ask about doing this version of it since it's a little different. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, I'm going to replace this just like you would. I'm going to replace this with a GM part. Now, this particular color on the left-hand side is a 157-08-043 part. I just prefer GM on things like this, many other things, because they last longer and they're higher quality than aftermarket. What usually happens on these, though, is this piece here that connects to an actuator rod when you do the handle. This piece here either breaks around this piece of the metal, or sometimes it'll break right down here where the two pieces come together. We'll see what happened on this one when we get into it, but it's clearly broken because it just kind of wobbles around here. The other piece to this then hooks up to another rod so that you can manually actuate the lock. Whether you have power locks or not, you're going to have this piece. So let's go ahead and get into it. First thing we're going to do is remove this trim cover. Now, this trim cover has a number of clips on it. I think there's one here, one here, one here, and then I think there's a centering rod here. We'll get it off and verify that, but that's my recollection. And what you want to do is pop these clips off from right on the inside here. 1, 2, 3. And then, so this one still has 2 clips here. There's the centering rod. It's kind of got a little nudge on it, but I call it a centering rod because, you know, it doesn't really hold on too hard. This one here is actually one of the clips sometime in its history broke off. But it'll still hold on with 2. But by the time you break 2 of these off, it's time to replace it. And if you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the description, rather, if you're looking to buy one of these. They come in 4 colors: gray, neutral, red, and blue. Next thing we're going to do is take off the 2 Phillips head screws that hold the armrest piece to the inside door frame. So there's 2 screws here. And after we get these 2 screws out with a manual door like this, the next thing we have is really the most unique part and the hardest part about this type of job, and that's getting the manual door handle off, the crank. So this guy's coming right out. Okay. Just trying to get it out the rest of the way with my hand. All right, so we got those 2 screws out. There's 2 Phillips head screws. Now we got the crank, and I've set the crank into this position so that hopefully I can get you a picture of what we're after. I'm going to try to come in from the top with the camera. And what you've got here, you've got the crank. If you haven't disturbed anything, you got the crank, you got this kind of plastic washer piece. It's more than a washer, it's like a molding. And then you've got a clip on the inside that attaches to the shaft. And if we pull this back and you look down from the top, you try to get this washer pushed into the housing of the crank on all the sides, give you the best chance of seeing this guy. Hopefully, if you come right down from the top, you can see that clip in there. Right there. And it's kind of like a C-clip with 2 curls on the end. And what we're going to need to get that out is a tool like this. And I actually showed this in the other video I did for the power version of this. I just didn't need it. And what you do is you put this kind of tool in like this, and these 2 notches are going to push that clip out. You could fight with it with a flathead screwdriver. It takes longer, I think. This kind of a tool, it makes pretty quick work of it. The only catch with this tool is getting it lined up onto that clip. So, you know, if I got it on here, we'll get it the first time. If not, we might have to try a couple of tries at it. Unfortunately, guys, I don't see anywhere I can stick the flashlight. Well, maybe here. I don't know if that's going to help you. It's probably as good as I can get on the light. And then it's just a matter of trying to line this guy up. And of course, trying to film it and then trying to do it for you guys I cannot see myself if I've got it lined up, so it's going to be a little bit of a trial and error thing for me personally. Let's see if that's it. Nope. Almost. Okay, I'm going to have to pull the camera back for a moment and let me get this tool centered with me looking down here so I can see what I need to see. Okay. Now you can see if you grab it right, this little tool will stick in here and push this out of the two little nubs that it fits into. So I'll pull this tool away. What normally happens is you push this guy in like this, and you pop him on, and he'll pop out, and he'll grab this groove right here, and that's what holds the window crank on. All right, that's the hardest part of this job, the most unique part between this and the power version. So you got to have a tool like this to make quick work of it. If not, you can try popping that out with a very small flathead screwdriver, one side at a time as well, and that'll work. It just takes longer, and that's what I used to do before I purchased that tool. I'll put a link to this tool in the description. I think this is a Lyle tool. I'm not sure. I'll have to go look it up. Made in the USA. I don't remember where I bought it from, but I'm sure I can find it and put it in the description for you. Okay, so the next thing we've got those white nylon retaining trim clips all the way around. There's a couple of tools you can use for that. You can use a metal tool like this. I really always hate doing this because the chance it'll scratch something. So I tend to just use trim tools, even when I try to get these types of clips off. The first one is right up here. And you can see they're all the same. There's a male piece like this and a female piece like this that go together and they pop in here. Sometimes you'll find that they've broken off here. Sometimes they break off inside there. If they do, I'll run a link in the description. You can pick these up from GM 159-60325. It's like a set of males and females. You can probably also pick them up aftermarket too. It's a cheap and expensive nylon part. All right, the next thing we'll do is we'll just go down, pulling these off as they appear along the outer perimeter of the door. And I'm not necessarily going to film all of this, but you know, it's the same kind of deal as we did up at top. We get on one, we pull it all the way out, and then we go down to the next one. Same deal. Pull it up all the way down. There's a few on the bottom here. Once you get a few of them, some of the ones that are neighborly will just kind of pop out on their own. All right, well, actually, I guess I will film this because I got them all off already. After this point, the only electrical connection we've got on the manual is the speaker, because this thing here, this is just a reflector. This is not a light on the base model. This is a 98 Cheyenne, and so that's all there is to it on this model. So now let me see if I can get this to let go at the top. And then actually you don't even have a connection. The speaker wiring is behind this metal plate, so there's actually nothing as compared to the power version. So I'm just going to set this aside. Here you can see these tabs. If we scroll over here, you can see these tabs all the way around this particular vehicle. We're not missing any of them. They're all here. Dust and stuff manages to get behind even the trim, amazingly. All right, so what's the next thing we got to do here? Well, you shouldn't have to remove any of these bolts. We should be able to get this guy off without removing this plate, similar to how I showed in the power version video. But just like there, we're going to have to drill out this rivet. So I've got some stuff to do that. The first thing I'm going to do here is I just don't want to have these filings all over the floor. So nobody steps in them barefoot. You're going to want to get some safety goggles for this step because you're going to be drilling. And you might, depending on what kind of drill you got, you might want to have some hearing protection if yours is really loud. So let me just get this guy into position here. I'm trying to do this particular clip without any breaks in the video, just to kind of give you an idea about the total time this kind of job might take if you've got all the right tools and you follow along with what I've shown here. All right, so for drilling this guy out, I'm going to start off with a 1/8. I'm going to go to a 5/32, and the bit that's really going to take us home is 11/64. So I'm going to start off with the 1/8. And what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be going to this rivet, and this is what these rivets look like. And we're just trying to drill out this iron or the steel center of the aluminum rivet. And where these rivets are used for, if I pull out the replacement part again, this rivet sits in here, and when he gets squished, he holds this piece onto this metal frame. That's all it's for. If you don't have a rivet, you don't have a rivet gun, you know, in a pinch, you could try to put a bolt in there. If it's very short, you just don't want anything that's going to interfere with the glass going up and down. All right. Get our 1/8 bit in here. We'll start with this. Get my safety goggles on. And let's get started. All right, that's the first one. Let's move up to the 5/32. Just make sure when you're doing this, be careful that you don't go all the way through and hit the glass. So I am trying to kind of hold back on this bigger bit to avoid that from happening. So just want to go in that far just so you don't hit the glass or anything like that. Get the shaving off here. And then we're going to go to the final bit, which is 11/64. Get it tightened up. It might be enough. See if that rivet head is ready to let go. Nope, not yet. Yeah, but what's happening now is it's kind of spinning on us. There it goes. I thought for a second I was going to have to kind of prise it out while I was drilling it, but there's the rivet head we've got off. I'll get a pair of pliers and extract this later. But this is what we needed to do in order to be able to get this loose. So this has got some slide-in tabs on the top and the bottom. We just kind of slide it to the inside of the vehicle, and then we can pull it out. All right, so there's our actuator rod for the lock. Here's the crank for the window that you can see for raising the window instead of having a power unit. And then here's the rod that actuates the door handle itself. So I'm going to try to come in here and get this guy extracted first, just using this screwdriver. I'm going to try to hold on to it because it is broken already. Yeah, maybe I'll do this one first. These guys are on here pretty hard. What happens is this nylon piece that they're plugged into gets old and brittle and won't let go of it. So have yourself handy a variety of different tools to work with this problem. So there's that one. This one I might have to use coming in from this side and giving it a push. There we go. All right, so we got the old one off. Let's just reverse the process to get the new one on. I'm going to put this one at the bottom on first. I'm going to reach in here and grab this. The only thing you want to do here is you want to make sure that you go out of your way not to bend these rods, because that might create a problem for you on lining up with the door lock or lining up with the door handle opening actuator. All right. Okay, almost done. Take these safety goggles off so I can see a little better. I'm looking for another tool down here, a small punch that I can use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to punch the rivet out. Okay, it already fell. We'll retrieve it later from the bottom of the door. What we're going to have to do is come in here on one of these places, might maybe take the speaker off, I don't know, to look and see the piece of the rivet that fell, but I'm first just going to get this stuff put back together. So line these tabs up, slide it back in, make sure this plastic waterproofing is in the right position. Get your rivet back in the hole. You can use something like this punch to line it up like that. Take your rivet gun. This is something I just have had for a few years from Harbor Freight for jobs like this. I'm hoping I got the right size bit here. Yep, okay. Just kind of give it a push and then crank it until it squishes it. What it'll do is it'll pull that metal rod until it snaps off and you're done. At this point we could put the cover back on, or we can go fish out the rivet, which I'm actually gonna, I think I'll come in right through here. I might be able to get down there with a grabber and fish out the other piece of that rivet, and then we'll put the outer piece back on. Here's an example of where you can get these things coming off. I'm glancing over and seeing that it's not broken, so it just kind of snapped off. This is a place where I wouldn't mind using this metal version of the tool. So I can come in here and extract this guy. Kind of gently because we're by the speaker. There we go. And I'll put him back into the cover piece. But essentially we're done at this point, other than fishing out the piece of the rivet that fell and putting everything back together and snapping it in. So let me fish that rivet out. I guess I will end up breaking this video, but I didn't break it all the way to the repair itself. And I'll come back and put the trim on and we'll wrap it up. All right, guys, we fished that little rivet piece out. So we're just going to continue the reassembly now. Get this guy lining up at the front. And then you want to come along the edges here. You want to see that you've got these male pieces fitting into these female pieces all along the side and the bottom. And then you want to make sure you're doing the same thing on this side as well. And then just push them all in. That's all that holds this stuff on. Then you take this small piece that you took out on top here, get him lined up, put him back in. All right, then we can take our trim piece. Actually, you know, before we do this, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and close the door. Whoops. Yep, I forgot to put those screws in. That's all right. We can put that on the blooper reel and just make sure that it opens. And then we're going to make sure that it locks. All right, we're good to go. So, other than the accumulation of 20 years of grime, this just plugs into these slots. There's a little lining thing here, and then there's two here that push it in and slide it back in. All right, we can take this guy, snap him back in, take our two Phillips screws and put them back in, which if we had them in there, we wouldn't have that blooper run there before. And then the last thing is putting that crank handle back on. And at that point, we will genuinely be done. Just tighten this guy back up into here. All right. Now, the crank handle. So we're going to go ahead, like I said, and insert that clip back in here. And all we're going to do is we're going to position this back where we had it to remove it, push it on, and it snaps back into position. And we're done. So if you got questions or you got comments, you got ideas, you think you could have done something on here better, go ahead and drop a comment below and I'll respond. If you, or maybe I won't, depends on what you got to say. If you found this useful, please hit that like button. And if you like content like this, please subscribe. I'll bring more to it when I can. Thanks for watching.